Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, Atlas Thugged, aka White Boy D Voice, aka another racially ambiguous groiper, or at this point, soon to be conquered by the World War government, which is nuclear Israel. And pleasure to see everybody in here. Ronnie Chappa, Orthodox Boomer, Grandma, Mr. Mossy, Smelly Balls, Elarax, the Beatitudes, Hippocratic Oath, all of you guys. Appreciate seeing everybody in here. We have a lot to get into today, and it's rather unfortunate because I wish we, I wish we didn't have a lot to get into. Actually, it's kind of unfortunate because everything we're going to be going over today is going to be in the negative. And some of the big stories we got out today is the fact that, for one, well, Israel drug us into the war per Rubio, which is being contested by Caroline Leavitt and the other members of the administration, and also Rubio himself. And it's funny because there's a bit of a back and forth between the reporter this morning on those comments from yesterday. And funny enough, it turns out the same reporter confronting him on those comments was the same one who asked the question in the first place. Another huge mishandling of the administration. And right now, the Trump administration is flailing, whatever you want to call it. Epstein administration, the Netanyahu administration, the Israeli administration, whatever term that you want to use, more than likely would be more accurate than anything that would define it as being representative of the American people. That is for sure. In addition to that, what we're getting now, and again, there's so many kind of different avenues. I think the best way to describe what's currently happening is it's just chaotic. I don't think anybody has a really strong grasp of what's going on. And it seems to be both part of the aspect of the fog of war, but also we're getting signals all over, mixed signals everywhere. And one of those actually is going to relate to JD Vance, which Nick Fuentes went into great detail about yesterday. And that was kind of one of the big articles and pieces that we got out of the news from the New York Times. We'll take a look at that. And now what we're getting is that reports are coming out per the Middle East Eye that the many individuals in the military are sending in complaints that they got orders from their command unit, their command officer, different and all arms of the military, that the verbiage being used to wage this war is that the Iran war was in fact anointed by Jesus, and that it's essentially a holy war. And this is kind of the new messaging coming out that we're seeing today. You're also getting Tom Cotton talking about how Iran is an imminent threat for 47 years, which, add that up, imminent in 47 years doesn't go back. That doesn't match. Imminent means close, recent, soon, ASAP, near, encroaching. I wouldn't put 47 years anywhere close to the word imminent, but that is, of course, what Tom Cotton is going along with. And for those who don't know, Tom Cotton is an ardent Zionist, and it's rather unfortunate. And it just gets worse. It just honestly just gets worse. And so we have the back and forth here from both Marco Rubio saying that Israel drug us into this war we wanted to make sure we responded, the preemptive strike, and then coming out today again saying, no, that's not the case. Also, contra to that is we're getting Donald Trump saying, no, I force Israel's hand. They're going back and forth here and having disagreements on this. And so in addition to that, we also have JD Vance, who supposedly, like the thumbnail says, go big and go fast. And this seems to be, again, a big story in the fact that JD Vance has been positioned publicly for extended periods of time as being someone who is like the person in the administration who's pulling back from the war. He's trying to position himself as like, why don't we do this? Let's, this kind of in the more of the anti-war candidate. And what we get from the New York Times is, in fact, it's the complete opposite. In that supposedly it was appearing that Trump was leaning towards a limited strike. J.D. Vance, per the New York Times again, said, no, go big and go fast. Hence the thumbnail that we have today for you. And that's just a portion of what's going on. You also have a through line here in the overall conflict that is this element, which is the munitions. And this is what's been getting a lot of Professor Zhang, I believe is his name, who come out with like predictive history, which is a big channel. Many of you have probably seen this individual. He's becoming ubiquitous, kind of like the same way that John Kirkow has. But this guy seems to be a bit more organic. And that's the fact that this Asian professor, I don't know if he's Chinese or whatever, I don't really care. But this Asian professor was recently brought on Breaking Points because his channel went from like nobody watching it to having over 100K plus subs. And it's probably even gone beyond there now at this point. And for the reason being that he has predicted every single element of the Iran war leading up to exactly where we are right now. And so a lot of people are wanting to know, well, what's he saying what's going to happen in the future? And this is going from Trump being elected. He predicted that Trump would win the election. He also predicted that Trump would take us to Iran. And now he's also predicting that ultimately we are going to suffer huge negative consequences for this. This is inside of his predictions here. But in the line of that is because of what his take is on the munitions. And this seems to be the take that's floating around from many other individuals as well, too, which is this competition between the fact that Iran is primarily launching as their attack system a bunch of cheap drones or a bunch of one-way drones or suicide drones or just smaller, finer munitions that just take a lot less to put together and launch. The issue on the other side, though, is the interceptors and the defense systems that the Americas are using, both THAAD and the Patriot missile systems like we've been talking about, are exceptionally more expensive to be able to continually delve out. So if Iran is launching, 5, 10, 15 missiles at a time, sometimes clusters, and sometimes it doesn't even take more than one. And I'm sure many of you have probably seen this video, and if you haven't, it's kind of a wild video to watch, which is that one of these missiles that gets launched, whether it's a drone or whatnot, 11 interceptors, I believe it was 11 on the dot, all shot and missed. And that right there is a difference of one $50,000 drone versus, I believe they're around like, it's like 14 or 44. I forget the number off the top of my head, but it's millions. Each one of these missiles being sent are worth millions of dollars. So you have millions of dollars per interceptor being fired versus thousands of dollars being spent on the drones. And that seems to be what is kind of what most people are fearful of, is kind of getting an idea of what this is going to be. Who's going to run out of munitions first? And we got this weird kind of Truth Social post from Donald Trump, actually. I think it was last night that he posted this. And the Truth Social post seems to go at, we can wage war forever. Literally, he says this, right? We can wage war forever. And he's talking about what he says are medium grade and medium upper grade, or like mid high grade, or whatever terminology he used. And it seems to be he's just avoiding using the word low. So you have low grade weapon defense systems, weapon rockets, missile systems. You have medium grade. And he's making the point specifically that the high grade are the ones that we don't have a lot of. But he says indefinitely, though, we could wage war forever based on the medium and low grade weapon systems that we do have. But Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes spoke earlier today on InfoWars, and we're just connecting the dots that we literally have a president saying we can wage a forever war, just not in the kind of way that you would expect it to be said or articulated. Thank you, House. House is saying that the THAAD interceptor missiles cost $12.7 million each in the fiscal year of 2025. That makes sense because I believe I saw someone had estimated they were around like 14 million today, so they've probably gone up a little bit. And I would imagine part of that's just demand and extra costs that go in there. But it's not good. And I think if you just do the simple math in that, I mean, that's multiple. It's like 20 plus, drones can be fired for the cost of what it takes for one of these missiles to be sent. And this is where Professor Zhang is kind of making his stake here, which is he does believe the outcome of the war will largely be dependent upon the outcome of who ultimately runs out of munitions first. What is going to be the story of this munition battle? And Rubio also said similar as well, too, in his comments, and we'll also take a look at that as well now, because, again, this is a second element that Rubio has then said, but Donald Trump has came out today and opposed. So, again, both of the Israel took us to war and also our munition capabilities were both said by Rubio yesterday. And today, Trump himself put out two contrary statements to both of those elements that Rubio had pushed forward. And then on top of that, beyond there, what we also end up getting is Rubio himself is denying it as well, too, saying, no, I didn't say that. And there's a really rough moment. I mean, it's miserable. And I think somebody likened it to the kind of the Pam Bondi moment, if you will, just this extreme mishandling, this extreme misusage of language. And on top of it all, Caroline Levitt also is pushing this. She's getting roasted in the comments because she also pushed an article from the National Review, which is defending Rubio, saying, no, Rubio did not say Israel drug us to war. And to make everything all worse, there seems to also be on the down low, though Kirkwanly, if that's how you say the word, right, is there's seemingly a disagreement between both the domestic news and international news on what the actual casualty count for the United States service members is. Now, I think the official count on the domestic side is we're sitting around, I think it's at six service members. It's either like 5 or 6. I'm positive it's 6 as of the last time I was updated on the domestic side. That could have gone up literally before I went live. We got a report that an F-15 fighter went down, and supposedly the pilot got arrested by the Iranian police. So that number could be going up very soon. I really hope not. But again, that kind of foretells the largest reason why many of us are pissed off at this, which is we're watching more sons and daughters go and die for Israel. And it was that exact quote, that exact statement made by Megyn Kelly that has got all of these insane Zionists going after and attacking Megyn Kelly, because Megyn Kelly made this point that she's disgusted by the fact that in her view, that's what these soldiers are doing. They're not doing anything. This Iranian war is not in the interest of America. And like always, one of the gayest content creators you've ever seen in your life, some person I haven't heard of until like last year, comes out and it's demanding that Megyn Kelly apologize for her statements. More people from The View, more dumb women who have more retarded opinions no one ever wants to hear, coming out and demanding, Megyn Kelly, you must apologize for your comments. And it's just such a big joke because this Graham Allen guy, that thing is who his name is, many of you might be familiar with him, he opens up by saying, I don't care what your view of the Iran war is, but you shouldn't say this. It's like, that's kind of the whole point, which is Megyn Kelly's making the point that the whole war is being waged not in the interest of the American people. So if we want to go down the route of the regulars versus the militia, so be it. But I've seen multiple, former military men come out and clutch their pearls, if you will. And it is unfortunate that we've lost boots on the ground, but I'm not going to sit here and scream at the top of my lungs that someone said an opinion like that, because again, that's the majority of how a lot of us feel. That's all a majority of us are pissed off about the current conflict, is because we don't want Americans dying for the interests that aren't ours. And albeit, this is, and maybe many of you probably felt the same way here. I've tried it's been hard to not crash out on just the generalities of what's coming out of this, because you have other individuals like the more of the manipulated right, the containment right, who are just being excessive with it, pushing things like, weird photos. I think somebody, and this is why I remember it. Somebody asked me the other day, last time I streamed on this channel, what my opinion was of Patrick Casey, and then no joke, the next photo I see of Patrick Casey is like a based edit of Netanyahu with like his glowing eyes. And it's like, man, we're coming for you. Do I need to say more? I'll save my further opinion on that, but I find it to be just egregious. But this is the question, right? What's the real number of American casualties? And so the reason I bring that up, beyond just the pearl clutching happening from a bunch of influencers you guys could care less about, is the fact that the domestic number is like 6, but the international number is anywhere from 500 to 600. Now, again, the international community is one thing, but I find it hard to believe that there is such a massive difference between those two, right? Between the 6 and like the 560, or the 6 and the 630, what the international community is putting out. So if you were to take some basic kind of advice, it would be, well, the answer, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. And if that's the case, then we're probably looking at the fact that the United States is trying its best to avoid getting more casualty numbers out there, which you would imagine, of course, would be in their interest to continue maintaining and waging the war, which is if more casualties and more footage of jets blowing up and Americans being harmed, the more the American people either want it to end quicker or just want it to end, period, whether it's being pulled out or just not seeing the casualties anymore. And for most people, they don't care how that happens. They just want to stop seeing Americans being harmed. And that brings me to what I'm most fearful of right now, which is there's 2 directions I can see this going. But I'm probably just going to lean in on the one that I think I've seen a lot of. And that is the fact that what was floated around earlier today was that supposedly there was, earthquakes, recorded in Iran. And there was also reported yesterday that there was earthquakes reported around Nevada. In addition to this, what we also got today is Emmanuel Macron, I think this was yesterday actually, but it might have been early this morning. Emmanuel Macron announced that France is going to begin building up more nuclear warheads. And in addition to this, what they also said, Macron said, in addition to building more nuclear warheads, we're also not going to disclose anymore how many nukes we do have. Poland also joined this call. Poland joined this call, and it seems to be there's a beginning of a nuclear arms race. Now, Poland's in a bit of a lesser light because Poland falls under this nuclear umbrella, which is operated by France. So more of along the line, which looks like Poland is like, oh, France is making more nukes? Okay, sign me up. The reason why I bring this up is because I believe if you were asking me, and with my big tinfoil hat on, right, this is conspiratorial and opinion just from the vibes I've been seeing on this, the hunch, I would say, is when I see these reports about this nuclear elements, the nuclear agency of things, then I also see the response of Europe. And not that I've seen anything really corroborating it or the seismographic data, my immediate thought goes to, are they beginning to build the sentiment that Iran is getting ready to whip out a nuke? And are they going to do that in an attempt to preemptively strike Iran with a nuke? And in addition to that, why would they want to nuke Iran? This would be obviously a terrible, they'd be the worst PR blunder of all time. But there's an element of this, which is, I do believe that there's an element that the U.S. is going to seek to end this conflict quickly. Not only did we get one of these initial reports that said that they tried to reach out through Italy, an intermediary, to talk to Iran, which Iran rejected outright, but you also have the fact that the UAE, the Saudi, and these other Arab countries cannot suffer a prolonged attack at all, period. And in addition to that, the UAE has also announced that they're going to come out and they're going to begin helping bomb or attack, or I should say strike rather. They're going to help attack Iran on behalf of Israel. And what did we get from a response from there? Turkey came out and says if the UAE even attempts to do this, all locations across the UAE are viable for targeting. So because there's this kind of pressure point and this choke point, part of the reason is the Strait of Hormuz as well, which I think is beginning of all of these pressures, I think is the reason why Europe is beginning to act as well too. I think the United States has said that, one, they decimated the Iranian Navy. And they're also going to, I think they demanded that U.S. companies continue to insure tankers that are going to float through there. I think they also said they will assign U.S. vessels too. But again, all of this is in the fact that if these countries, if these nations, right, the UAE, Dubai, Saudi, if these nations get destabilized, I mean, these are the cash cow that backs up the petrodollar in the United States of America. So if they become destabilized, they lose a bit of their following, their seating, right? And part of the economy of these places relies on the good vibes. It relies on the place that you can come and retire as a rich, wealthy, elite individual. That's like kind of the makeup of this area. And I'm sure many of you probably seeing, why is Andrew Tate posting for the third time this, look how fun and easy it is in Dubai. War's going on, can't really tell. And that's part of the reason that they're ensuring to make sure they're getting influencers on these campaigns to keep this energy up, that it's not that dangerous. So all of this to me, if you were asking me, is pointing to, if I had my tinfoil hat, I think we're seeing the beginning of the insertion that Iran's about to whip out a nuclear weapon so that it can give the pretext to the United States for them to nuke first. Two birds, one stone. They finish the war quickly to help the pressures relieve off the U.S. to help save the petrol state, while also appeasing the ownership of the Zionist regime, which is Netanyahu in Israel and the Jewish diaspora here in America. If you were asking me, that's what I saw from reading a lot of the news today. I don't want to sit here and make everybody be terrified of that. But it's in addition to this Israel nuke, not Iran nuke. No, very specifically, this is the reason I'm making the comments about Iran with the nuke is because of the reports that came out earlier today saying that there was earthquake and there was underground activity registering on the Richtometer, whatever you call it, the seismograph, the seismoscale. And I'm seeing that along with other reports coming out about Iran's enriched uranium. No one knows where it's at, it could be at any point. Obviously, this has been the talking points of Netanyahu for the longest time. But I see that in combination with the other ongoing events as a potential pretext for us to nuke Iran. I don't want that to be the case. I really do not. But I do definitely see that occurring. Looks like I'm also dropping frames like crazy. Hopefully that picks back up soon. I guess I'll wait for a second. Yeah. Yes, no, definitely. I do get the clarification. Hopefully it's not too bad. I'm getting some bad feedback on my end. But I did see the reports coming out of Nevada. I think it was near Area 51, I'm pretty sure. Looks like YouTube's is cutting my stream really bad. So I apologize, guys. I'm not sure what's going on. Hopefully it doesn't end the stream. Let me try to remove some internet off some of these other devices. I apologize. I'm just trying to watch this. I'm getting some weird reports right now from YouTube. I apologize, everybody. I'm just watching YouTube tell me a bunch of alarms and alerts. That is unfortunate. Well, I will turn the stream back on in a second. If it goes out, but we'll try to keep going as we are right now. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm like getting attacked right now. I don't know if like someone turned something on in my house or what's going on, but I'm almost have no internet right now. I'm being choked out an insane degree. Yeah, dropping frames. Some people are saying it's good here. It looks awful on my end. It's really bad on my end. Okay, some people are saying it's fine on there, and I guess I'll try to continue. Hopefully it picks back up. I'm watching my upload speed is jumping around. Okay. If it's good on your guys' end, we'll just keep going. Yeah, false flag, if you will. That's funny. I'm seeing my watching numbers are jumping up like crazy too. Oh well. Anyways. Okay. yeah, I'm on to something. Is that why? But if it does just turn off, I'll try to finish the stream. I'll turn it on back on sometime. Somebody's saying now it's all effed up. Yeah, dude said just started losing it. That's brutal. I see it on my end. I'm losing frames like crazy. I can tell that for sure. That sucks. Oh well. What can you do? What can you do? I can't beat Mossad. I'm just really I have a strong feeling my wife turned something on in the house and it's having some kind of effect. It looks like I might have just gotten it back. There we go. Oh, it's green again. We got it back. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's reset. Okay. All right. Reset. That's kind of the gist of the show. Reset. Here's the starter. We're going to get right back into it.
Cut straight through, offensively accurate, that's the view.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about that has been extremely concerning to me is the fact that we're getting now is this holy war, this idea that the Iranian war is anointed by Jesus, and I have this in quotes here, but the article comes from the Middle East Eye. And so the MRFF, which is the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, reported to the MEE, which again is the Middle East Eye, that it had received more than 200 complaints from personnel serving in every arm of the military. And it goes on, it says, one specific report is from a combat unit commander who told NCOs, which is just non-commissioned officers, at a briefing on Monday that the attacks on Iran are part of God's plan and that Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. I kid you not. I mean, like I'm pulling directly out of the article here. And so I'm going to pull up here a screenshot from the communications of this email that started this article here, which is being reported on quite a bit right now. Let me grab it up here for you guys to see as well, too. So this is from some random account. I'm unsure, but I did see the article. Here is the communication. Almost 3 million views here on YouTube as well. But I'll pull it up. Maybe I'll put it in this one. Open image in a new tab. This makes it seem look better. But I'll read it here. This is this email. Mr. Weinstein, thank you for taking my calls and the calls of some of my colleagues as to what happened earlier this morning with our combat unit. Please protect my identity. Forgive me. And the identities of those I'm speaking for as we discussed. Our unit is not currently in the combat zone and or regarding the Iranian attacks, but we are, I don't think that's what that stands for. AOR, I have no idea. Regarding the Iranian attacks, but we are in a ready support function where we could be deployed there at any moment to join and augment the combat operations as participants. So here was what he writes. IMA, and then in parentheses, NCO ranks is withheld in our unit. This morning, our commander opened up the combat readiness status briefing by urging us to not be afraid as to what is happening with our combat operations in Iran right now. He urged us to tell our troops that this was, quote, all part of God's divine plan, and he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. He said that President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth. He had a big grin on his face when he said all of this, which made his message seem even more crazy. And then it goes on to say our commander would probably be described as a Christian, and then that's kind of where the end of the screenshot is. But this is insane. I mean, this is categorically insane. And the insane part about it is the blowback I'm seeing so far is coming from people who are like ardent leftists saying, look at this zealotry. Look at our yeah, get out of that unit. Look at our zealous theocracy. And you're getting this from the left. And I saw a funny post from Doomernet earlier today, which literally said verbatim, I mean, imagine the whole time we've been attacking Iran for being a theocracy, the Islamic regime, holding its government in a bit more of a theocratic sense, harsher and stricter to their religious beliefs. And then as we are waging the war, what we're doing is we're saying, well, the reason we're waging the war against Iran is so we can bring about our religious beliefs, our religion. And it's like, this is the point. But the direction the left is taking it is going directly at Pete Hegseth. But what do they know Pete Hegseth as? A Christian nationalist. So what we're seeing here is we're combining the Christian nationalist with the Christian Zionist. I will be damned if Christian nationalists get put in the same box as Christian Zionists. That is not at all. It's in fact, let me correct it for people who aren't understanding it now. The Christian nationalists are trying to wage a ground war against the Christian Zionists to take back the sovereignty of our nation, so we stop acting on behalf of Israel. There's nothing Christian about a Christian Zionist. It is simply a term, a moniker for a Christian to feel good about their worship of the Zionist state. It is not a real thing. Premillennial dispensationalists are heretics. So like, this is like what I don't want to see happening, right? It's like, no, like, let's like pat the flames down. Like, no, it's actually not Christian nationalists. It's more so Pete Hegseth, who is a bit more of a Christian Zionist. And he has been. I think he's spoken quite at length for some of his more ardent Zionist beliefs. But again, he was touted in the media largely for being a Christian nationalist. Now, the reason why I want to bring that up too, and then let's take a look at this. Who's Trump's spiritual advisor in this video? I'm telling you, bro, it blew me away. I'll pull this up for you. But this is, I believe her name's Paula White. I'm pretty sure. Paula White, something White. Mrs. White, whatever you want to call her. From Pedro Gonzalez says, not only is this psychopath doomsday cultist Trump's spiritual advisor, but Trump also created a special office for her in February called the White House Faith Office, where she is a senior advisor. White once said, to say no to President Trump is to say no to God, which I believe we've covered this woman before. But here's just a snippet of this. I would not make anyone suffer through longer than about 20 seconds of this. Let me turn it down so I don't blow your eardrums out.
Strike and 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 strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory.
Just like, man. Thank you for the super chat, Mitchell Black, and appreciate it. I think I saw somebody became a member. I think I saw 2 or 3 people become a member, gifted. Thank you for that. I apologize. I was distracted by the fact that Mossad was attacking my stream. But Mitchell Black says, the Great Jewish Messiah Awakening speedrun 80%. True. Very true. This is kind of like where we are. And you have to understand too, I mean, like, we're talking about people who have been orchestrating things in the long term for an extended period of time. And what cannot be missed here is the fact that what we know, they know as well, which is when we look at the fact, and you look at the support for Israel among millennials and among the under 30 crowd, you can see it dissipating quickly and fast. Are they blind to this, right? Are they not seeing this, right? Like, no, of course they are. So they're also probably taking some of these things into effect as well too. So that can't fall outside of the equation here, which I think would also bring about a bit more of a rushed attempt, or a bit more of an exceptional pressures, or maybe they will be apt to making more mistakes, but they're also probably taking that into account, which is to say this may be their last shot to incur what they would like to bring about, which is in their sense the Armageddon, their Messiah, while still being attached to the United States of America. Because if you were to look at the track record of Israel that they've said, for one, not too many nations after the current ongoing events, but let alone even before that, are going to be, jacking up to jump on the Israel train and have Israel be a client state of them, so they can pay out and be waging wars. So I think there's an element of this, and I think what you're seeing too is the fact that they want to accomplish their goals, and they want to accomplish it fast while they have their puppet president in office, so they can do these things and then move away. Because who cares what happens to America afterwards? If they achieve the hegemony that they want, they ultimately retain, largely, they come out of this unscathed. They maintain the majority of their infrastructure. They don't lose too many officials. It'll be a win for them. But I really, really, really hate this idea that the Iran war was, quote, anointed by Jesus. And it's such a slap in the face, and it really is. It is a slap in the face to groypers, to the dissident right, to all of the people, all of the men who have shed, reputation, clout, lost, got into divorces, or otherwise had reputations tarnished, lost businesses for being the Christian men that God has called to be. And then to see your nation wielding the Zionist state as this is the Christian answer, it is a huge smack in the face. And I think it is what other sign do you need that we need to end this immediately? Christianity has got to overtake the power. We have got to end this, and this needs to end with our generation. It may end without even anything, any of us even doing anything ultimately in terms of the Israel element of it, but I don't know if that saves us from what the Jewish diaspora arm would do here in America, but it does need to be reckoned with. And this whole idea, we need to stay away from this kind of painting the Christian nationalists as if we're one and the same with P. Hegseth. P. Hegseth would be screaming anti-Semitism if he sat in a room with me for longer than 5 minutes. And so one of the other talking points of this, right, and again, a huge portion of today has been very specifically playing defense for Rubio's comments. Today could be defending Rubio. I could have named the stream Defending Rubio, a day of defending Rubio, because that's largely all the actions the administration has been today. So that's where I want to go right now. Let me pull this up here. Here's the video, so if in case anyone's not seen it. And what I would like to do is not only play this video, but I'd like to play the fact that Mike Johnson also said these same comments, backing up what Rubio said yesterday, forgive me. But here it is. And it was posted by Rapid Response 47, which was recently created to be able to play defense for the Epstein files and other things the administration should probably be getting impeached and thrown in jail for. And it doesn't just say it's just Republicans, obviously. I don't know if I have any new watchers in here, but obviously my anger is largely directed at the current administration. And the fact is like these people are a bunch of liars. This is a huge scam. And we have arrived right now today in our year of our Lord, 2026. Everything that people thought they were voting for in 2024, they're getting not even just not what they asked for, they're getting the complete opposite of what was marketed to them. What was marketed to them was a no new worse candidate who is running on mass deportations and making America great again. We have gotten no mass deportations. We are encroaching upon World War III in the midst of the fact that the Ukraine and Russian conflict is still ongoing, outside of the other smaller conflicts that are occurring across the nation. And with no end in sight, with huge potential to really, really, really affect our economy and putting the economy in a much worse state than what we have been. And think of this too, this can't go unmissed before I get into this. This cannot go unmissed at all. Think about how they behaved when they were getting the negative reactions on mass deportations. Immediately, they turn around, immediately flipping out, and they're going, oh my gosh, oh no, like maybe it was so bad. Andrew Schultz, Dave Smith, some of these right wingers coming out and being like, "Oh no, this is so bad." The administration's getting a lot of pushback, right? The numbers are ticking down. So what do? How do they respond? Immediately clean it up. They go, "You know what? We shouldn't do this. Let's okay, all right, we're done with mass deportations. You're right. All the illegals should stay here." They back down. They fall apart. But the Iran war being opposed, bipartisan, I would add, both by the right and the left, but heavily by the base that voted him to get him in there, doesn't care, doesn't matter at all. Literally, I think Trump even said something to the effect of like, polling doesn't even matter. Like, who cares? Like, really? So when you're waging a war for Israel, you don't care what the people think. But when you're doing deportations for what the people literally ask you for, that you said, Orange Man, to use the left's language, hopefully that pisses somebody off, you back down. So the American people, that's negotiable. The American people voting for you, like that's negotiable. Have a good night, Elrex. That's a negotiable element. You know, we can kind of decide, you know, should we really give the people what they voted for? Or like, can we just kind of do whatever we want? Nah, we'll just do whatever we want. Oh, Netanyahu asked, "Whatever you say, sir. I pledge my life." Trump looked at him and he said, "I don't care if my ratings go to the floor. I don't care if they impeach me next year. Whatever you ask, Bibi. Whatever you ask, Mrs. Adelson." Like, and it's just such a big joke, man. It really is. You know, and it can't be understated. And people are all irritated at Nick for pushing the whole thing for voting for Democrats. But the point being is like, if anyone's making the argument that that the Republicans are losing because of Nick saying what he's saying versus the administration's actual actions, like, I'll be honest with you, like, the person needs to be enrolled in a special needs home. They need to ride the short bus. And you need to not interact with them as if they are a competent individual. That's what needs to happen to that person. But going back to this Rubio comment, and again, this is what is largely being defended today from this remark from yesterday from Rubio. And here it is.
I had a chance to see a lot of reporting. I don't understand what the confusion is. Let me explain it to you, and I'll do it once again as clearly as possible. Perhaps you'll report it that way. The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties.
So there it is. It's a two-pronged argument that was put forward by Marco Rubio yesterday. It is this. The first element is that no matter if it was the United States joined Israel or Israel was to attack Iran by itself, the idea that they said was that the United States was going to be retaliated against regardless, which is to say, to make this argument that whether they joined or didn't join, they were going to be getting attacked, period. And so because of this, because that's the belief, which he says, which I think Nick did a great job, because Rubio's acting like this is a binary when it's not. And then he foments that when he brings up the latter point, which is because this is the belief, and this is the mechanic here, this is what's happening. Because of that, and it would bring about more casualties to not be prepared and not join them on the strike, we're going to go ahead and join them on the strike. Preemptive attack, we struck first. The United States and Israel struck Iran first. And this entire thing, and again, too, I've been seeing some great points around from Timothy Gordon and others, right? Like, it fails the just war theory. I mean, of course it does. And again, preemptive strikes, and what he leaves out in this binary here, and as Nick points out, which is this element of restriction, which it leaves out the fact that if Israel is a client state of ours, Like, shouldn't one of these options on the table be the United States tells Israel, no, the hell you're not bombing Iran. You are not jeopardizing our people. If we know they're going to attack us, if you attack, you're definitely not attacking. Somehow that's not on the table. Somehow that failed to penetrate into Marco Rubio's equation here. It was just like not there, didn't exist. So why is that? Well, you could take it as exactly what it is. It's an admission. It's not on the table. And it's not on the table because Israel owns these politicians. Israel owns this administration. Israel owns this country. That's why it's not on the table. It was just a matter of, do you want to be with us or no? They were telling us, you want to tag along? Doesn't matter. We're doing it regardless. That's a client state. That's how a client state talks to the world power, the United States. Interesting in there. Saw a couple of chats from House. I have to hit those. House says, some reports indicate that the Republican leaders dismiss election losses and internal critiques, insisting there is no problem with their policies or messaging, even after significant defeats. Follows it up by saying this suggests a lack of recognition or willingness to acknowledge that their own base might be turning on them. Right. And this is, I think, what is foretelling a lot of this idea behind the accelerationist argument, this idea of what to do then. What do you do with the GOP that is seemingly unmovable? No matter who goes into this position, no matter who runs on the ticket, you get Israel. What is there to do? What do you do? That seems to be the argument in the dissident right now. But I want to bring this to your attention here because this is what Rubio is saying it. But in addition to this, Mike Johnson also said it himself. I believe shortly thereafter at the same conference, I do believe. And this is his statement on it. So here's Mike Johnson. And you can see the caption here, LMAO from Drew Hernandez, which I think is hilarious. World Champion says, W show, thank you. W comment, W chat, W chatters. Appreciate you guys. But here's Mike Johnson saying it.
To me, the most critical point is that this was a defensive measure, a defensive operation. And why is that? I took some notes, and this is not classified, so I'll tell you what I think is important. Israel was determined to act in their own defense here, with or without American support. Why? Because Israel faced what they deemed to be an existential threat. Iran was building missiles at a radical and a rapid clip to the point where our allies in the region could not keep up. As you know, Iran has long vowed to take out Israel, wipe it off the map, and they have long seen that as a critical threat to their very existence. Because Israel was determined to act with or without the U.S., our commander-in-chief and the administration and the officials I just named had a very difficult decision to make. They had to evaluate the threats to the U.S., to our troops, to our installations, to our assets in the region and beyond, and they determined, because of the exquisite intelligence that we had, that if Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets.
So there it is, exact same argument and reasoning for why we did what we did. But what is also missing out of this equation is where's the United States? Where's the world power, the leading global world power, United States, to step in and say, no, Israel? Why is this missing? Why is this not a part of the equation? Why is restraining Israel and the United States telling Israel, no, not present? Why is this not an option? Why was it never allowed on the table? You tell me. Chat, discuss. Which I think we already know the answer. And this idea here of this imminent threat, right? This imminent threat also has to be it has to be added onto the fact that there was a report going around that showed that the CIA, in communications to the Mossad, was warning that if you take out the Ayatollah, you're going to get a harder regime. You're going to incur an extreme reaction. Do you know why? Because the people of Iran love the Ayatollah. And just like we were seeing in the 12-Day War, we're seeing again today. which is we're getting a bunch more of these unified fronts. We're getting marches with Kamani on posters, like, and they do love the martyrdom. Like this is this is part of like the you know, inside the religion. And I think that, you know, I think Sneeko spent time talking about like what level of saint or whatever he would be. I don't really care about that. But it's like they are emboldened by this now. And Professor Zhang, the guy who some people are saying is a plant, which it could be. I'm not going to say either or. Not like I really care either. I do think he's kind of an intriguing figure in all of this. But one of these elements, in addition to all of that, is the fact that it's long and widely been known that the reason that the rest of the Islamic kind of regime, the wider spread regime, hasn't gone any further than what they've kind of been, has been because of this man issuing the fatwa against pursuing the nuclear armaments. Now he's gone. And supposedly, I know there was conflicting reports of who is going to take over for him. I think the newest data shows that it's going to be his oldest son, who I don't have his name in front of me. But I got from Dominic Michael Trippi, who I believe is one of the better reporters that exists on X right now. Definitely follow him if you are not already. Also, make sure you're following Rerum Navarum as well. It's pretty strongly and connected to Nick as well. Two really good sources for a lot of these kind of more geopolitical things. And you won't get you're not going to get a mega, you know, breaking red alert, right? And it's like the gayest thing you've ever seen in your life. Like, you're not going to get that. You're just going to get the news. I like the DMT. And here we are. And here we are. And now where we are is, are we going to get, and to me, going back to what I said about the nukes, because it does seem to be that we are very fearful of this rather quickly devolving into getting US boots on the ground. And that's going to be one of the two options. And that's what I said earlier when I said I think there's two options on the table. And I think both of them involve more involvement from the United States, just a matter of which. And again, I think that is because, especially the UAE looks like it is getting beaten alive. The UAE is like flailing all over. There's reports coming out. There's also a report that one of these strikes is also like a false flag. It was actually not Iranian. So it's like, I don't know if they considered it was Israeli, but it's being contested. Like the Aramco, I believe it was the Aramco. The Aramco, Aramco in the UAE, which Iran has denied, but they've literally claimed that they're fine with all the rest of them, which is kind of odd because they were bombing the UAE in different areas, but it's like that one they said no. Interesting. Let me close a couple of these. Actually, forgive me. I have so many notes here. I apologize. And hopefully the audio sounds good as well too. I did a little bit of working on that as well, increasing it better. I'm like watching YouTube videos at like 2 a.m, and I'm like listening to like a guy, and I'm like, okay, I should do this. Like, for those who don't know, I'm kind of retarded on some things. So I have to I spend time trying to learn. But this is the reason why I want to bring this up here. And this came out actually like an hour ago, maybe 2 hours ago or so, from Senator Blumenthal, which I believe he's one of the, what do they call him, like the eight, the great eight, one of these guys who have access to the full range of intelligence. I'm going to go, here's Jermaine Tunes, and this is what he said earlier. He said he feared that troops from the United States may be necessary. So we'll take a listen to this.
I just want to say I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground and that troops from the United States may be necessary to accomplish objectives that the administration seems to have. But I also am no more clear on what the priorities are going to be of the administration going forward, whether it is destroying the nuclear capacity of Iran or simply the missiles or regime change or stopping terrorist activities.
So a lot of fears of these kind of boots on the ground, and it does come from this idea that the war is not needing to be ended quickly on the United States end, although the munitions back and forth seems to be very intriguing, and it is a question. It does seem to be they planned on the fact of it, being inside of 5 weeks. I don't know if they have expectations for what it would look like going beyond there, or having to decrease how much they are intercepting, if you will. But this is, it's just not a good sign. And if the UAE is tapping out, and you have Saudis like tapping out, and they're like, please, like, you have to end this immediately. Then that's now going to be two opposing pressures, which is now you have the petrol countries who are begging you, and who are, by all accounts, greater allies to the United States of America, and we're harming them by prolonging the war or not ending it swiftly, right? And so that's going to kind of be the ask. And at a certain point, people just aren't even going to care about principles. The UAE is going to be looking at the fact of like, if we take 3 more strikes, like, what are we going to do? Like, we're cooked. Like, you have got to end it literally right now. And is that going to imply an extreme operation on the ground with troops on the ground, boots on the ground? Or does this imply something more insane, something more close to how the United States ended one of its last skirmishes, wars, I should say? And not to mention, there's also another kind of theme going around today, which is like all these guys are trying to reinterpret, like, this isn't a war. It's actually a special combat operation. It's like, dude, Lord have mercy, dude. Like, I'm tired, boss. Like, please stop. And Shane Cashman, I believe he's still with Timcast. Shane Cashman had a great tweet today, and he said, Republicans define war how the left defines gender. And it's true. I mean, you're watching all these people, principles gone out the window, moment with the Iran wars here, and it's because they don't have any principles. The principle is, what can I do to appease the Jewish state? What can I do to keep the $7,000 rolling in? What can I do to appease the Zionist platform? What can I do to maintain and stay in the good graces of this? Because for a lot of these people, it's just the grift, it's positioning, it's status. They don't care. They don't want truth. It doesn't matter to them. Think about how Caroline Leavitt was all big and bossy, like the first couple of days she's there, big cross chain. Epstein files come out, haven't seen a cross necklace or crucifix on her since. It's just a big joke to them. She'd rather continue doing what she was doing and hide Jesus than embolden herself with Jesus and repudiate the administration. For what? Literally for what? House says consider supporting the Constitution Party of Paleocons or the American Freedom Party, third position. Curious where Thomas Massey is going to come in on this. I think that's going to be a question moving forward. I do think that, and if you're asking me to just even look forward a little bit, like the idea that Vance having any ground to run on, like, sure, he may have the backing of like the infrastructure of the current GOP and like the donor network that provides that, but I can't see him even gracing anything in the American people. Not when this is kind of the gist of the story. And let's focus in on JD Vance while we're there. This is kind of the second big point I wanted to bring up. Although I will get to Trump being contrary to Rubio later on, I'm going to go to JD Vance now. And as Nick said on the show, you see, where is the based white dude JD Vance? Where's the Code Red? I think it's what he said. Where's the Code Red Xbox playing? He's just like us, JD Vance. Where is this guy? Hobo Elegy. He relates to us, right? Such a phenomenal piece of work, David Frum said, as he predicted a long time ago, that this guy will definitely be president one day. That the story it's all just, again, it's just a lot for most people if you're not in on it. But this is where we are. We're going to go right here. Per the New York Times. This is what the other big thing that came out yesterday. The New York Times just confirmed that Trump wanted a limited strike on Iran, but JD Vance pushed for large-scale attacks. JD Vance isn't against war with Iran. He's responsible for it. Furthermore, I will take you directly to the article. I have it pulled up here. And apologies, it was going to blow your eyeballs out of the water. Sorry, I wish I could force dark mode in Brave. It doesn't have that feature yet, but Brave's just so good. What I'm going to show you here, let me actually go back to it. This is actually a decently sized article. It's right here. Let me scroll up a little bit. So it's right here. This whole article is talking about how, I think the article literally is titled, How Trump Decided to Go to War with Iran. And so this is a large article in explaining this, but here's the part when it gets to JD Vance. And it says, and it talks about all the meetings leading up to it as well too, but it says, for his part, Mr. Vance, who appeared to personally lean against military attacks, and again, all of his public positioning was like being reported as like, he's the guy who's oppositional to Waltz. It's him and Hegseth against Rubio and Stephen Miller. It's JD Vance is the one who's like, yeah, well, clearly that was all a bunch of literal bogus. But it continues. Vance argued that a limited strike was a mistake. If the United States is going to hit Iran, he told the group, it should go big and go fast. A spokesman for Mr. Vance declined to comment. Before the meeting, Mr. Trump appeared to have been leaning toward a strategy of a smaller strike, followed by a bigger one if Iran did not give up its nuclear enrichment. But Mr. Vance's arguments seem to resonate. And in the coming days, more officials move toward the idea that the United States and Israel should jointly take aim not just at the missiles, not just at the nuclear structure, but also at the leadership itself. Wow. And there it is. And there it is. And like many people, if you have been following me for a hot minute, or somebody like Nick or anyone else who's been following JD Vance, this would not be much of a surprise at all. Now, I might have been getting lulled a little bit by his public remarks, but I do find JD Vance to be, again, never Vance for one. It's always the position. But beyond there, this probably feels like a slap in the face for a lot of people who are expecting, and we got 8 years of Trump, and then we'll get 8 years of Vance, and then we'll get 8 years of Rubio, and then we'll get 8 years. It's like, okay, let's be realistic. Let's not be kids about this. Okay, let's not do that. Thank you, Tiggs. I did see that it could mess up. It could mess up because you have to force it like that. So I just avoided it. But I will try it. Maybe I'll try it later on off stream. Got what you voted for, quite literally. Now, Nick last night went into some of the details about Tucker Carlson, the relationship there with JD Vance, which again I don't think is ultimately too much, but the point to be made there is the fact that Carlson was somebody who was vocally pushing for Vance to be the VP for Trump, and wording of Nick too, as assassination insurance. And that was the way that Carlson was pushing for Vance. Like, you got to get this guy, right? If anything would happen to Trump, we want to make sure we have somebody really strong and good on his own, like a JD Vance. And so, in spite of this, though, what we're getting people who are defending JD Vance in all of this. Much like Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing, which incurred Nick Fuentes to attack her earlier today. But this is what I've been seeing across the board. From who? From all these random accounts that have been shilling for the administration, but have also been kind of maybe questionable in the Epstein files. It is the containment right. Now they're pushing all this to say, is all this bad media being done to attack Vance? It's just, how did we arrive to this conclusion exactly? Did you see with comments? Did you see here? And so let's just take a look at the MTG versus Nick Fuentes to get an insight on what these conversations look like. So this is the reply here, but I'll go up here first. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. And what is she responding to? A post from AF Post. And this AF Post says, with Vice President JD Vance reportedly swayed Trump to launch a large attack. So this post is about the article we just read, but I'll read the second half. On February 18th, General Dan Kane proposed both options to President Trump. Before Vance weighed in, Trump was partial to the smaller limited strike. Kane warned that the second option could drain U.S. munitions, result in American casualties, and spiral out of control. So it's saying before Vance weighed in, Trump was partial to the smaller one. Afterwards, he was not. So what is Marjorie Taylor Greene doing? Quoting the Post, attacking AF Post because they view it as an attack on JD Vance, or she does. So what does she say? She says, oh, JD Vance did it. They hate JD. They don't ever want him to be president. So now that they effed up so bad and they're getting our military members killed for Israel, it's JD's fault, not Trump's fault. Or any of the neocons screaming 24/7 in his ear, what's the truth? Nick Fuentes responds, in literally his first interview after becoming the VP nominee, Vance said we need to attack Iran as hard as possible. Why are you defending him? He is the VP and Rubio is the Secretary of State. They own this war just as much as Trump. In this clip here from, I'm assuming he grabbed it from Alexander Augustine, this clip is from literally shortly after he was ushered right off of stage after being selected by President Trump at the RNC, and I believe he was sitting down with Sean Hannity. And this is what he said to say.
The most important part, I think, of the Trump doctrine in foreign policy is you don't commit America's troops unless you really have to. But when you do, you punch and you punch hard. I think that's the way that you respect America's brave men and women who are serving. Now, let me say something about...
When you say that, does that, like, for example, how President Trump beat the caliphate? It was overwhelming force, and it was done pretty fast.
How President Trump beat the caliphate, beat ISIS, which people said literally couldn't be done, and he did it in a matter of months. But also Iran, Sean. A lot of people recognize that we need to do something with Iran, but not these weak little bombing runs. If you're going to punch the Iranians, you punch them hard, and that's what he did when he took out Soleimani. By the way, that action, people said that it would lead to broader war. It actually brought peace. It actually checked the Iranians and slowed them down a little bit.
And it's so shameless, very shameless. And what they do is it's this kind of sleight of hand trick as well, too, you know. And then it didn't incur, like, and then there was nothing else. Like, and then the war ended. And like, just like this war with Iran, like everybody was completely fine, right? Everybody was completely fine. And you know, next thing you know, like just out of nowhere, Iran caused the war. It had no connection to what we did with Soleimani. It has nothing to do with anything else in the Middle East. Iran just magically just became an imminent threat, as they would have you believe. Shameless. Absolutely shameless. And again, the fact that he has been publicly getting postulated and positioned and being reported on by the media that's largely friendly to him, outside of like the more left-wing outlets, I would say, well, you know, he's been advocating against, he's been more so in like the Charlie Kirk side of the wing. Like, oh, I'm going to be there to tell him, you know, I think the Iranian war would be a mistake, but I'll respect the decisions of the president, right? This is kind of like the gist that people have been getting about Vance. Nope, it's actually complete opposite. And the many masks of JD Vance, somebody said in chat, that is very accurate. Which one are we today? Which one are we today? And so moving back to today, this is what we do have, and this is from Trump, and this is Trump playing defense contrary to what Rubio said from the earlier comments. And so here's the video. Let me pull this up for you. Trump says, contra Rubio, that he was the one who forced Israel's hand to go to war with Iran. But here's this moment.
Did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready, and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact.
Did Israel force your...
So Trump says, no, I didn't say that. But furthermore, Rubio said he didn't even say that, funnily enough. And this is maybe the worst media moment I have seen today. Let me get rid of some of these actually before my computer smokes and goes up in flames and it looks like Tehran. Let's get this out of here. Here's this video. So what's funny enough, and you can see in the caption right here, the reporter responds, confronts Rubio. Rubio says, no, were you there yesterday? The reporter says, yes, I asked the question. Here it is.
Was that Israel was going to strike Iran, and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get...
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked the question.
No, were you the one that, because somebody asked me a question yesterday, did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that follow-up. And I said, no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program, that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
And you know what's hilarious is hopefully we can see the clip later on. I thought I grabbed it. But this individual right here on his right-hand side, I don't know what network he is with, but I'll zoom back out. You can see him. It's this individual here, the one of Indian descent. Looks like Vivek's grandfather. actually pulls up the transcript from yesterday and starts reading off of it, and Rubio cuts him short. Which is just crazy, man. It's so brutal. And it's when he's reading the transcript on air that Rubio is like, no. I think I had a question over here. Actually, let me go. We have to find this. Hold on. While I'm going to go look for it, though, one of the other things I saw on this is who's also pushing this. Who's also saying, no, Marco Rubio did not claim that Israel dragged Trump into war with Iran. Well, it's Caroline Levitt. And as you can see here on screen, it has almost 3 million views. And it's posted earlier this morning with nearly 7,000 comments and only 14,000 likes, meaning for every 2 likes, you're getting one person probably angrily saying, don't you gaslight me. And it's just so pathetic. And of course, it's being pushed by the National Review. I do want to look up the Marco Rubio bit. Hold on, I got to refresh the page. Are you serious? Hold on, let me find this actually. Because I want to find the moment where Rubio... Maybe I won't find it. If I can't find it in the first couple, we'll move on. And looks like the Gang of 8 met earlier and also last night as well. There we go. It's this one. Perfect. Now it's becoming the more viral of the two. Wonder why. Drew Hernandez says Marco Rubio is all over the place from Antunes. Here it is.
I want to just clarify what you said. Because you said there's nothing to clarify. But you said I would get that. No, but you have to read. If you're going to read the whole statement, your quote is about we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack. Yeah, no, I understand. But listen, all right, let me understand.
Dude, okay, so you understand like what just happened here? So we watched the last clip, right? We just watched the last one. He says if you're gonna quote me, you need to read the statement in full. So what's this guy do? We'll pick it back up again from the top.
I want to just clarify what you said. Because you said there's nothing to clarify. But you said I would get that. No, but you have to read. If you're going to read the whole statement, your quote is about we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack. Yeah, no, I understand. But listen.
If you're going to read the whole statement, you got to read it. If you're going to read me a statement, you got to read it in full. The guy goes, okay, starts reading the transcript. Marco, before he finishes, goes, okay, stop.
So let me understand. But I had a very specific question from that gentleman, right?
Yeah, there's someone over here. Over here, Rubio? This way? Come on, guys. Rubio, they're over here. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's so dumb, dude.
What the president said.
Hold on 1 second. I asked
Air Force Israelis.
Okay, but let me answer because this is my press conference. Sure. Okay. You asked me. I was asked a very specific question. So you guys can misrepresent it, but I was asked a very specific question yesterday. The bottom line is this: the president determined we were not going to get hit first. It's that simple, guys. We are not going to put Americans' troops in harm's way. If you tell the president of the United
pressed is one way. Yeah, I have a very important exit over there. What you asked me something, didn't you? You in the red shirt, and it's like some guy like eating a popsicle. What? Who is this guy? All over the place, man. And look at that underneath it from Sneeko. Marco Rubio quite literally just admitted we went to war for the Jews. Would you look at that? Yeah, I really don't want to think about the American casualties because that's the part that really actually bothers me deeply. And there was another kind of odd post. It was one of the pilots, I believe, that crashed in Kuwait. I'm pretty sure it was a female pilot. And there's a viral post that went pretty live. And it was some guy, some fat boomer, like with his profile picture like this, with the sunglasses. He's wearing the typical boomer shades. Oh yeah? Watch this video and tell me that women shouldn't be in the military. I don't need to watch it. Let me tell you anyways. But in honor of the fact that I need to enhance my pro female messaging, I've been getting attacked a lot. I have been. They said, Atlas, you can't attack every female. We need to have some females in the movement. I said, nope, I don't care. But they convinced me a little bit. And so here's a message from one of the women in our movement. And this is to enhance my female messaging. I'm trying to, they said, Atlas, you're scaring the hoes. Got to pull back. I said, okay, you're not going to like me. You're not going to like me, man, if I pull it back. And they said, okay. So here it is. I saw this earlier. This is from Lily Gaddis, actually. She said, Trump sold you out and betrayed you. It's like a 2-minute clip. I'll play a portion of it. Here it is.
No, you just sit down and you be loyal and you support and you cope and you seethe. That's what they expect you to do. They expect you to be a good little cuck and sit in the cuck chair while a president that you voted for screws you over. That's what they expect.
And here's one thing, you know, not to mansplain over her immediately, but the funniest thing about this is just imagine the dynamic of like what Lily is, right? This is a woman on the right, and she is by definition extremely further to the right than a vast majority, I wouldn't even say vast majority, but a lot of men. What does that say about society? Like it is you know, the world is naturally inverted. Like something is wrong when you have a woman who are like whole, like quadrants to the right than a lot of men that exist out there. Like there are men who are like, oh, she's saying that? Like that's how screwed our society is. That's how inverted society is. That's how much of an affront our nation is to the natural order that God laid out. I'm saying it as a defense of Lily. I like Lily a lot. I think she does pretty good work. I even cited her for Project Esther. But like, understand that, right? Like if you ever find a woman further to the right than you, no, I'm going to leave it at that.
And you know what that represents? That represents their ultimate disdain for you. You're sitting here like an idiot being loyal to a president who doesn't give a shit about you, and they're laughing at you. They're taking your vote, and they're laughing all the way into the Middle East to start yet another war. If you care about America, you will let it go. It's time to let it go. It's like chasing some guy that's never going to be, guy or girl that's never going to be interested in you. At some point, after so many hours of no response, of no contact, at one point you got to be like, he ain't that interested in you. She's not that interested. Let it go. Let it go. That's what this is. This is like literally this is like a toxic relationship. The American people are in a toxic, manipulative relationship with a girl or guy who doesn't give a shit about them, is using them for whatever they can get, meanwhile is off sleeping around with everybody else and their brother. And you're sitting back like the good boyfriend or girlfriend. Here's your flowers. Yes, I'll never talk shit about you. No, I only say good things about you. Meanwhile, that's literally what this relationship is. And if you do not see that, you are stupid. And if you are coping and seething in my comments, or if you're a person from that country in the Middle East, leave. I don't want you here. I don't want you here.
Yeah. And I would wager, you know, I just wanted to, this was an attempt to enhance my female messaging. All right, feminists unite. We're united here. Feminists unite. But Uncle House is right. I do think there's she did do a bit of mud sharking. This isn't we're not here to give a full character assessment of Lily Gaddis, but I just wanted to bring it in because I think a lot of people probably agree with her. And specifically, like, I do think that there is going to be an exceptional amount of, I mean, I'm talking like not just like infighting. I mean, like, expect like vicious infighting this time around. Vicious infighting. And Orthodox Boomer Grandma said she's she's to the right, and that's good. That's good. It's more so I'm making the statement on men. If there's men to the left of any woman, period, it's like that's the sign that you have something went wrong. Like, this is a sign that God's creation is not in its natural place. It is something has manipulated it. It is artifacted it. Something is not right here, right? That's more the statement. Because again, women are more so kind of they're both the extension of their husbands for the most part, and they're also the extensions of societal consensus as well. Two things really in there. And some for a lot of men nowadays, it's a mixture actually, and it's a mixture of like their 10% claim to their wife because they barely have a dominion over their own marriage, and then 90% of what the girl just decides because consensus in society pushes her. This is what everybody believes. Okay, we're trying to boost the feminism messaging. Stop getting me ready to attack women. We like Lily around here. And here's the thing, like, I'll take anybody just not being a cuck, not being a leftist, not being Jewish, not being Zionist. I will take anything that doesn't fall into those categories for the most part. We'll take we'll take that. We take those. Listen, dog, we're losing the battle right now, dude. Let's not concern ourselves with the fine tunings of it, right? It's kind of this purity spiraling, which I think does need to go away. We need a bit more of a stronger coalition. Not the big tent that Charlie Kirk put out of bringing in the gays and bringing in the, you know, like, let's have a coalition that's just a bit more open-minded of ideology, and one that doesn't require extreme compromises along the ideological differences. So we got that from, you know, Trump. You know, we got that from Senator Blumenthal. I also saw, this is also another positive development, Father Calvin Robinson, for many of you who might know him, he's recently made some waves. I don't know like what his standing is in the church. I believe he is Catholic. I'm positive he's Catholic, actually. And he started something I believe is called Command Media. Let me pull up his post, actually. I'm seeing a lot more of this happen. And this is going to be another phenomenon we're going to see through this as well. Let me get rid of a couple of these again so you guys can see this. But this is from Father Calvin Robinson. He says, this is from Guinea Robinson. I don't know who this is. I think it's one of the Candace Owens fangirls. But he says, if you follow Jewish or Mormon outlets, you're going to get your news filtered through a Jewish or Mormon perspective. Not good. This is why we are launching Command Media TV. Current events from a Catholic perspective. That's crazy, dude. In one day, he got more followers than I have. I've been on the platform for 3 years. No, but I should expect it, dude. Like, I don't treat X how everybody else treats it. I just use it for news aggregation. I tweet things and then they all visibility limited. Dude, I tweet visibility limited. I get an email. Hey, you want access to your account? You want to delete the tweet? That's how my X experience typically goes, unfortunately. But there's a point to be made here, which is, remember what was occurring through 2016. Remember who the people you were listening to before 2016. Think of like the news outlets that existed in like 2014, 15, 16. Who are the top reporters and the big dogs? And think about how many of them exist now. And then additionally too, you think about the way that it's changed dramatically just from 2020 to 2024, and now from 2024 and so on. And I think this is a point to be made, which is, I think every single time that we have one of these extreme blunders, right? You know, fell for it again, if you will, right? Fell for it again award. But these are the moments where people really realize it sets in for them. Like, I did fall for it again. I think every time you're going to have one of these moments where somebody does feel that they have fallen for it again, they're going to deeply search for new media. And I think there is an element of this that some people are rightfully going to blame the person that they were listening to the entire time that led them to make this choice. And so, for example, people who are like, you know, they listen to Tim Pool, right? And this is kind of like for me, when I made the first jump, you know, years ago. Many people were probably listening and going, this is the guy who I listened to. This is who was massaging the message to me day in and day out for hours at a time, telling me the sweet nothings in my ear and saying, this is why I need to do this thing because it's the best choice. And I did the thing that was told by me, by the media, that was going to be the best choice by this person. And here I am sitting here going, I am outraged. I am angered. I did not want war with Iran. I wanted mass deportations. I wanted more than just a couple simple executive orders that were going to push for getting women out of transgender sports. Yeah, it's a W, but the smallest of W's at that. We didn't want, you know, so on and so forth. And then it's rife inside of the Epstein files. You have Howard Lutnick also being a huge element of this too. Like all of these just like massive moments of just feeling you're getting slapped across the face. And a lot of people are going to shed the media. They're going to shed the people who they're listening to through the last couple of years. They're going to drop them. They're going to be like, this is the person who I felt like, you know, led me to listen to this person. So we probably are going to see another one of these major periods where a lot of individuals are going to be shifting to more alternate media spaces. They're going to be looking for somebody else. Like, where is another outlet to be had? There's no evidence this is a blunder yet. That's the craziest thing I think I've ever read in my entire life. Dude, that is like nuclear grade copium. What are we talking about? Has yet to be decided if it was a blunder yet. 6 American casualties, too many. It has already been a blunder. No American blood should have ever been spilled, period, for Israel. There is no argument, one even soul. And here's the thing, the goodest goy, Matt Walsh, has even jumped on, and he's being attacked because he's came out and said, I want someone to argue for me. Name me one thing. Name one thing. I think that's kind of the argument for Matt Walsh. Name me one thing that this is in America's interest. I mean, this is so far out of bounds. No new wars, golden age, right? And gas is going to get ready to shoot up. I think the price per barrel is looking, it's going to be around $200, right? $200 the price per oil barrel. So many good things, so many great things, and so many extremely heavily potential massive losses. And one of them being, and exactly one is too many. But even beyond that is the fact that what we have at stake, if the fears from the UAE are real, right? These fears from the UAE, all of the freaking out they're doing, all of the frantic, fractious, like wiggling of their hands, please, 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 then that means the entire petrodollar industry is at stake. And this is the lifeblood of the United States. We have a lot to lose. There is so much that the United States could lose during this conflict, and not even so little to gain, nothing to gain. There's nothing to gain here. And here's the thing, the Iranian regime was fine. The Ayatollah, the one who issues the fatwa against nuclear arming of the Islamic regime, of the Islamic State, the global Islamic State, that's who's gone. If anything, you had to kill Suleiman, you had to kill Khamenei to get the Iran they were painting in the media. That's what they was holding him back, and you can only really so far as hope that his son. And here's the thing, dude, you took their leader out that they all loved, and you want them to play nice with you. You wanted to play ball. You wanted to care about rules. They're not going to give a shit. You just took out their beloved leader who'd been in power since he was 40 years old. He'd served nearly 50 years. And we're going to go send sons and daughters who had nothing to do with any of these choices to go die for old ass people who are a bunch of Jews in the Epstein files. There's no argument that you can honestly make. It was a blunder the moment we even entertained the thought. It was a blunder the moment that the United States did not look at Israel and say, you will not force our men and women to be in danger or in harm's way because you cannot control yourselves and be disciplined inside a military operation and give us time to assess. That was a blunder from the start. Sure, you can disagree, but I don't think you're going to have a good argument whatsoever. And here's the thing. I appreciate the pushback. I generally appreciate pushback, so don't take that personally, Costco law. I see you all the time. And here's the thing. This isn't the chat room where we dogpile people for things, right? Surely if they're blaspheming Christ, I go for it, don't care. But we want to have reasonable pushback and disagreement, and this is what's missing from the right? We don't want to, you can disagree with everything, and have some push and pull, but also like no more of this, like, because look at what happens to Nick, right? The moment somebody disagrees with Nick, what's the first thing that happens? He's a federal agent. Oh, he doesn't agree with my stance? Must be a federal agent. Oh, he must be gay. yeah, unless you're gay. It's like, can we not do that? Like, maybe people just have a difference of opinion. Maybe they literally do think differently than you, right? That whole idea of you disagreed. Federal asset, and it's not to say there's not this infiltration in the system. I think it's just heavily overplayed and used almost as a way to kind of, what's the word? It's just cheap, in my opinion. I find it to be cheap. I'm trying to find whatever else I wanted to go to and cover today. I had a couple more things. This is kind of, I'm making through the broad push. The Professor Yang thing, I think is pretty interesting on the munitions side of things. We can take a look at that. This did catch me off guard, but I'm staying away from the Erica Kirk, the Candace Owens, the Charlie stuff. I've decided to kind of walk away, take my hands away from it until we get something more so of a what's the word? A stronger assertion of kind of where we are with these things, but it seems like it just gets more chaotic. We're chasing the dragon, if you will, of Charlie Kirk. But I saw this today, and this kind of blew me away. And it's from Baron Coleman. It says, TPUSA posts an old clip of Charlie touting a position he soon reversed. gets community noted for being dishonest by leaving out the fact Charlie had completely reversed his opinion on the issue and leaves it up like nobody will notice. And they say we are destroying his legacy. So you read from this community note, we'll play the video here, but the community note added to this, forgive me, it's posted by Turning Point USA. It says this clip predates Charlie Kirk's June 2025 statement, calling regime change in Iran pathologically insane. He opposed war. And so what is this clip, right? How old is this clip? Let's take a listen. What is this clip, man? What did TPUSA post?
How much do you actually know about Iran? Persia was a great power, and then Iran took a turn for the worst. Interestingly enough, there was the Shah of Iran, and then the Shah was displaced by Mossadegh. Mossadegh was democratically elected. Now, to be very fair, the United States and Britain got rid of Mossadegh, and then we reinstalled the Shah. Bad decision, which then led to the Iranian Revolution, where...
So he's about to go in. Okay. I will cover this. I will address this comment here in just a second. I got something good for that one, actually, from Zeb, mind you.
Radical Islam took over Iran. Look at some of these pictures of what Iran used to be. It was wealthy, it was proud, it was strong. The Persians are wonderful people. Some of my closest friends are Persians, and I love the Persian people. And we should have a heart for the Persian people to try and have a better future. Regime change is very difficult to talk about. I actually don't like talking about regime change. It's very complicated, but understand that there can be brighter days ahead for the Iranian people. And just look at some of these pictures of how beautiful Iran used to be, how beautiful Tehran used to be. And it's very easy to kind of sit in your Western armchair and be like, oh, Israel's terrible. Well, you're able to enjoy free speech rights and a lot of rights here in the West that Iran used to have. And if you are serious about actually protecting human rights, you should want to make Iran Western again.
So that's what they used. TPUSA posted this, and again, to try to, seemingly, as Baron Coleman's putting it here, to kind of hijack the messaging from Charlie Kirk. And there's also some more going in about that, between like some trademarking, some disputes between both the parents of Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk, again, which I've not gone too deep into. But to go back into up here, Matt Kemp says, Baron has controlled opposition. He's with Ian and Candace, that crew. They are all not in our team. I will say this, Ian Carroll has been nothing but nice to me. I've had a couple interactions with him, so I get the opposition. I also find a lot of Ian's positions to be untenable. He also doesn't come from the same position as us. I find him to come from the same positioning as like a Ryan Dawson, if you will. Someone who's there, they are driven and motivated by the fact of what they're seeing as like children being harmed, less so the kind of religious elements or more so the nationalistic elements of it. But per Zeb, I think the last time I talked to him, it was Baron and someone else he had mentioned in there. But even Zeb had said that the vibes that he had gotten for partaking on these shows, that Zeb said he feels like he is some kind of asset, or there is something kind of like federal about him. And I think the way that Zeb framed it was he specifically wanted to be on his P's and Q's, like doing things the right way. And I think it was something about like before they went live, it was something along the lines of, he was telling Zeb, like, don't say this or don't use these words, or like, make sure you stick to this, something to that effect. I can't remember the conversation now that I'm bringing it up. But yeah, I would say Baron Coleman does seem to be, be aware. I will say Baron Coleman, again, literally did essentially come out of nowhere. I think the reason why he's on the scene now is because he was one of the initial guys who caught and was on the live stream when it happened, when the Google search trends were being looked at for their results in Israel. And I think it was like the judge's name who was going to be on the case for Tyler Robinson. I think it was like Lance Twiggs is also being searched in Israel. And Baron Coleman, the reason why he went viral is because he was live as he was watching the Google search results disappear while he was live looking at them. So I think that's, again, so was that injected? Is that real? I guess that's for all of us to decide. And here's another thing too, with that messaging from Charlie Kirk, and it's common messaging as well from the administration overall. But this idea that, well, first, let me address this actually. Baron admitted last night he privated his YouTube history and that he used to work with political organizations. That's lovely. Okay, do not trust him. Baron Coleman, don't trust him. Period. Anybody that's got to preemptively kind of apologize for something, I wouldn't. I've been a part of no political organizations. I am most wanted by people who know me IRL. Like I am public enemy number one in the region I currently occupy. But the point I wanted to make on this push from Charlie Kirk, in addition to, you know, many people from MAGA, is like bringing Western values. And I talk about that all the time too, which is, you know, if you want to make me support Iran, talk about how much you want them to have OnlyFans accounts and how you want to see their women take their clothes off. That'll make me support Iran immediately. Look what they make the women do, wear clothes. So again, but many of you probably felt this way, which is, you know, maybe you were doing something, you were in your room. I would imagine many guys who have wives probably feel this way as well too. You're doing something and somebody comes in to the room and they say, yeah, I see you're doing this. You should be doing it like this instead, actually. Yeah, I know, you're cool. You're cool. You should just be doing this instead. I don't want to do it like that. Oh, no, you should. It's better. I don't want to do it like that. How many of you have had similar conversations like this, right? You do something your way and somebody injects themselves and says, well, no, you should do it my way. My way's better. Instantly pisses me off anytime that ever happens, dude. Anytime. And sometimes I'm like, I'm a weird person. Sometimes I like to drive to the gas station with just my boxers on. I can do that. I'm a free American. No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that. Well, do I? Do I? No, I don't. But it's just this idea of like, who are you to tell me how I should live? And the thing is like, we don't even, as American, we don't even have, what even is an American? What even is America? We can't even answer these basic questions. Bringing the West to Iran, what does that mean? Does that mean bringing Christendom? I highly doubt it. Does that mean bringing the secular Jewish world order? Probably. Does that mean bringing more OnlyFans accounts? Does that mean bringing more Western pedophilic Hollywood elite? Does that mean bringing more degenerate DEI? Does that mean we're going to start importing blacks to Iran? Is that the plan? Take the blacks out from America to Iran? Like, no, it means bring them more of these globalist values, these degenerate things that we hate here in America. So why would I want Iran to have them? Now, if we were a Christian nation, it'd be a different story. But there's no way you can argue that right now America is a Christian nation. There's remnants left of what was, but by behavior, by value, by posterity, can't make that argument. Now, if we were to do a crusade, whole different story. If the leader of this country was the monarch, you know, was the monarch, right? It was the, you know, and swore allegiance to the Bible, and we didn't practice other religions. We didn't have the right to freedom of religion. We didn't have all these stupid things. That's a solid argument. By population, America's Christian. I'll take that. But is it going to be the people? Is it we the people who are going to be parachuting into Iran? Woo! Here comes Grandma. No, dude. No, it'll be all the things that we hate that'll be coming in, and that'll be a different question. If America was had a unified idea of what it was and what it wanted to bring to the rest of the world, whole different question. Whole different question. But that's not what we would be bringing to Iran. We would not be bringing that. We'd be bringing more of this atheistic, secular, materialistic worldview. This one where you can just be whatever you want. God's design or not. You can believe in whatever you want, religious or not. And that's supposed to be better than like what Iran has currently. And then who are we to say that? And everyone on its face, as any secular society, right? Any secular society is automatically inferior to a religious society, period. Any society that has a cohesive vision and a vision that is something to live greater for themselves is ultimately always going to be better. And, there's a couple other things that kind of came up today too. Tucker revealed that this was yesterday that Qatar and Saudi were arresting Mossad agents. There's also a report that was circulating as well that there was a high-ranking Iranian official who was like both with Khamenei in some of these final talks and was also like akin to a lot of these other party strikes, and he somehow was surviving all of them. The report is that he was executed earlier today, although that, again, Iranian international news, they didn't see an American site corroborate that, so taking that one with a grain of salt, but I have seen that. So there is looking like there's a lot more evidence coming out that a lot of the Mossad agents are being pushed out into the open, that they have been infiltrated by the Israeli intelligence agency, which I would say it's a bit more of an assassination agency at this point. And the idea of the boots on the ground, then the idea that Cuba's next, if you will. But that's kind of where I'll leave it, I guess, for the majority of the geopolitical things. I have a couple of things I'll go into that kind of harkens back to some of the older stories that we have here. One will touch on Tyler Oliveira. The other is kind of a cool thing I found about the Ehud Declaration. I think it's great. So it's a declaration. It's a Christian declaration. I think it's awesome. And then we'll touch on a little bit more of the newest of Gamergate, and I think that'll probably be what we'll do today. But very specifically, I will go to the Tyler Oliveira. He put out a video today, actually, literally like 14 or 15 minutes before I went live, talking about how he got banned for this. And so he's speaking directly on his Patreon. I thought it was a great video, but I'll play it for you guys. I'll put it up on screen. Looks like I'm dropping frames again, unfortunately. Every time I mention Mossad, apparently the whole thing blows up. Just insane, dude. Mossad, 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 Mossad. Like, why is it doing that? That's so dumb. So dumb. I feel like I'm getting treated like how Rumble treats Nick. It's funny. But here's the video, and this is Tyler Oliveira, and I'm glad he's standing up for himself. I already liked it, and that's crazy. Almost 1 million views. He posted it at 4. It's been like 3.5 hours, dude. So good for him. Keep going. Keep pushing. And he pushes the exact right message here, which is look at the hypocritical nature. Look at the differences. Look at the group you're not allowed to criticize. So great work from Oliveira here.
Less than 24 hours. That's how long it took for Patreon to delete my account after I uploaded a video titled, I Exposed New Jersey's Jewish Invasion. No warning, no first strike, no option to take down any videos. The entire account deleted overnight. Over the last few years, I've made videos critical of countless groups, Somalis in Minneapolis, Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, corrupt Christian megachurches, Pakistani Muslim rape gangs in England, Indians throwing cow poop at each other, drug addicts, pimps, prostitutes, gangsters, everyone. And not a single platform blinked. But the moment I made a video about Hasidic Jews using welfare to support families of up to 8 to 10 kids, my sponsors pulled out. In fact, old sponsors called me and said, hey, you need to delete the sponsorship we had in your video that's 2 years old. And
I have no idea. I would assume so. I mean, I'm sure I saw he issued an apology or something. People, they'd be doing a victory lap. So I would imagine he still does support Tyler.
ADL even has the audacity to publish an article saying that my video harkens back to age-old anti-Semitic stereotypes for asking Hasidic Jews what they do for a living and if they're on welfare. How do they afford 8 to 10 kids? Here's what I've learned. When they can't call you a liar, they attack your name. When attacking your name doesn't work, they pressure your sponsors. When you don't need the sponsors because you have the direct financial support from your viewers using websites like Patreon, they delete your Patreon. They don't want me to have a platform? Fine, I built my own. TylerRaw.com. No middlemen, no censorship, just the truth. My job is to ask uncomfortable questions and to start uncomfortable but important conversations, and it seems like I'm one of the few people on YouTube using my platform to do just that. If you want to support our mission to fight for the truth, no matter how many people it pisses off, then go to TylerRaw.com and get access to videos we can't upload on YouTube, exclusive bonus content, and early access to all of our videos. 2026, we're going to go harder than ever. They can pull the sponsors, they can delete accounts. The show doesn't stop till I'm 6 feet under.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna be as long as Tyler's staying on this wave, I will be supporting him. Forget Mr. Beast, forget Tyson Hockley, and forget all these other guys who do all these similar kind of copy and paste YouTube videos, which is just like, I tried 5 burgers, I tried 5 fast food restaurants, I tried, forget that. How about I tried infiltrating 5 Jewish communities? I'll watch that video. not 5 hotels. Tell me about 5 synagogues you went into and you caused a ruckus. No. I just like, but this is like, if Tyler's going to be on this wave, I'm going to continue to support him. Especially after getting his Patreon nuked. I don't know how that works and how much money he might have lost on that. I would imagine a lot. I mean, this is kind of like one of your primary sources of income. You're not going to gain the subscription levels back fast to how you had. Maybe you'll gain new ones out of this. But I'm sure he's probably still hurting on some level. And clearly it was an attempt to censor him out. And I just want to make sure I brought that to the attention. But yeah, W. Tyler for that. There was the Ehud Declaration, which I think you guys would like this. I'm going to pull it up on this webpage here. But this is a bit more in the Christian element. And here it is. Let me pull this up here. This is the Ehud Declaration. I've been seeing it mentioned by many in the Christian nationalist space. Maybe many of you have seen it as well. Ehud is an individual from the Bible, I believe specifically, in the story of Joseph. And yes, Joseph and no, maybe it's Benjamin. I think like Ehud is like he's like a left-handed. He's like a very minor character in the story in the Bible, but he's like a left-handed. He assassinates somebody, but the reason why it worked was because he was left-handed, but he kept the weapon on his right thigh, so like they weren't expecting it. Like that was kind of the story. Forgive me, I should have probably had a better background than that. But the Ehud Declaration, I'm unsure why it has the name Ehud because I don't think that's directly connected, is a statement on fat pastors threatening the church. And so what it says here, the introduction, it says, "We, the undersigned, in recognition of the sacred call to shepherd God's people, make the following affirmations and denials, grounded in Scripture and in the spirit of Christian integrity, calling for pastors to lead with spiritual, physical, and moral discipline. For if a man cannot control what goes into his mouth, how should he control what goes out from it?" Which is literally a declaration from a bunch of Christian nationalists that are writing a declaration that, we will not recognize a pastor who is fat. So it's just like, so you can see a lot of these that are coming in like, as Samuel say, but what is this organization? It says Negeva. That's good. That's good. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And I just thought it was pretty hilarious. And I do think ultimately, like, this is like accurate. I do think ultimately, what a grotesque picture for one. But a great declaration. And now you might be seeing this actually. And so the reason, and the form you may see this in is what I saw from, I believe it was Old Spy, somebody I follow, pastor. He's a pretty funny guy. And he started quoting everybody. He was saying, "Guess they didn't sign the Ehud Declaration." Guess he didn't sign the Ehud Declaration. You're seeing this all over. I'm like, what is this in the reference to? So I looked it up and I'm like, dude, that's, for one, brilliant and great. But two, how many times have I said that? Did I invent the Ehud Declaration? For those of you who have been here with me for a couple of years, how many of you can remember the amount of times I have made that exact point? If you are a fat pastor, that you cannot be a pastor. If you can't control what goes into your mouth hole, what does that say about everything else? And that's just kind of a general principle for everything, not to attack the bigger people. But listen, it's the ethos argument as well too. I've made many arguments of this, right, about the ethos, about the presence and the impact of that too. Hashtag no more fat nationalists in the Discord. You might have to scroll up to find some of the older posts there. But I thought it was pretty good. You can find it at ehuddeclaration.com. And it's funny because one of the people I'm going to be potentially speaking with, and I'm waiting for Anna Lopel to get back with me here soon, is Ehud Wood, who is he basically wrote the back half of Faith and Heritage, which is the anthology I got that's published by Anna Lopel. He's potentially somebody who'll be having an interview for said book, Faith and Heritage. And it's funny because I see Ehud, and that's guy Ehud Wood is the guy who they were, throwing his name out in the ring to do the interview with me. So that was pretty cool. And we haven't had one in a long time, but it's time we brought it back since we didn't have a community submission today. Well, House did community submit, but it was like already everything I was going to cover anyway, so it kind of just worked out that way. But bringing back the gay of the day.
The gay of the day.
Today's gay of the day is the fact that the God of War series is expected to get another sequel off of the original, not the original, but the remastered and the new brought out, the newer edition God of War, which then had God of War Ragnarok, is looking that the third is going to end up having this woman be the main character. And this is from D's Games. It's not quoting anything directly, but it says, as expected, total meltdown across Twitter at the thought of playing a female-led God of War game. Faye is an absolute badass who also gave Kratos his axe and Atreus his bow. Grow up and stop being afraid of women. This seems to be the newest, the latest edition of Gay of the Day. No, the newest edition of Gamergate, as it's been a continual, non-stop trawling, decadence, and cascading into more and more ugly, weird, artifacted-looking women being the only playable characters in your video game. And this is kind of a great post. I don't know who this person is, but they kind of nail it in this first paragraph alone. It says, the problem isn't about playing as a woman at all. It's that God of War has always been about Kratos. The entire franchise was built to be peak masculine. It's made to cater to men. The game is literally about a guy who wants to rip the gods apart for tricking him into killing his own wife and children. It is about the male drive to persevere through unimaginable suffering and use it as fuel to do what's right at all cost. I'll take a pause here. What it's not going to be about, what we don't want it to be about, is a stupid rom-com where the girl just bubbly, oh no, oh no, that's my dumb ex. I'm sorry, guys. Like, that's what men don't want in their games. But it continues. It's about a man taking on not just the world that wants him to suffer and die, but the entire system, spiritual and otherwise. This franchise inherently speaks to the soul of men and resonates in a huge way with the struggles men actually face. Quote, in an exaggerated fictional form, of course, it's a game. And she continues, or I think it's a she, I don't know though. We're in an increasing culture that keeps flirting with the idea or just outright replacing male-led games and movies with women instead of creating original stories with strong female leads. Games are pretty much the one safe haven most men have left, to feel seen, to escape, or at the very least have their frustration understood. Given the current climate, it's obvious why some guys have a knee-jerk reaction to this stuff. And it's just, we're at this point where it is quite literally more of the same. Now I'm going to read all of it, but they go into, further detail here. And yeah, I mean, what else really needs to be said there, And I agree. Less video games, more Bible study. And at the same time, it's funny that you mentioned that because there is a Christian game coming out, which I think is going to be on Unreal Engine 5. I forget the name of it. It's off the top of my head, but it does look like it's going to be releasing soon. This is another major kind of just L in general for just the gaming sphere, but also for men to lose another franchise. And they annihilated Star Wars. They've annihilated Star Wars. They've annihilated Lord of the Rings. They've annihilated. I mean, it's like it's what's the word? Franchise after franchise after franchise. And as much as I agree, less video games from Bible study. This is why the right has lost, though. The right has lost because we don't exist in the culture anymore. Understand that Gamergate is basically the right wing watching as a bunch of left-wingers make and own the video gaming industry. And we sit and watch and hope that they just don't make it super gay. And that's what we need to not be doing. This is escapism led us to this place. Escapism led us to the Hollywood that we have. Escapism led us to having the video game industry that we have. Escapism led to us having the streaming industry that we have, although it's changing here recently. I don't think the answer is to escape. I think the answer is we need men who are willing, who can make content, make art, make creations, make movies that aren't, preachy and sucky, but are also not gay. And this isn't to say like, you have fears of this too, right? Like, but I do think that the answer is not more escaping. I think the answer is we need to figure out how we start clawing back into this. And games is an easy one. Games you can make, you have access to these tools. It's like I say it's an easy one, forgive me, that's probably a poor way to word it, but it's one that you have a lot less of a barrier to entry. And you can think about all of like the indie games that's popular on streaming. And you look at like the top streamers, and you're looking at people like, people that I follow, right? When it's like Markiplier or Hollow or King Wools. And what are they doing? It's a majority horror games. It's horror games with strong themes and jump scares, and they're all $2. They bought them off of Steam or random websites. So I do think there's an argument here to be made that I do think that it's not just for the video games, but like Hollywood and art in general. Like we're talking about just like art, like the liberal dominated space, figuring out how we can claw back and put a stake into that system. Because let's be real, like you can't reach everybody through a political stream. You just can't. I mean, like, can you think about how you ended up on your first political stream? You know, was it because you went out of your way to search for it? Maybe, sure, some of you did. But at the same time, we do need to take the culture back as well. And infiltration on those elements will probably be ultimately vastly easier than it will be to infiltrate the actual government, right? Be much easier to infiltrate on the minor ends of what it is to, you know, get into Hollywood or be a part of like a creation team or a dev board or something to that effect. And two, if you're just like you're just like a fantastic coder, like how's it going to matter, right? And Donnie says artist types just end up to be on the just typically end up on the other side. And I do agree with that. You know, that's kind of typical, but I don't think that's always been the status quo. I think when you go back, I think history tells a different tale. I think when you look at individuals like Socrates and Plato and many others, I think there's a lot more balance to be had there. I think it's more so kind of the longhousing of the recent past 100 years has really kind of pushed men out and forced them to their knees in a female dominant environment. Don't hurt anybody's feelings. No, too graphic. Video games are causing violence. Yeah. All of it. In sports too, for that matter. I think sports is another one. You can teach a lot of values and disciplines to a lot of young men through sports, through coaching. But it's hard to do that if the large example they look to has end racism sprayed all over and every athlete is wearing rainbow flags. And if one kicker dares say he believes in God and that women should pursue being mothers, he's attacked by even his own teammates. It's like, we have some ground to gain. We have a lot of ground to gain. And it's not going to be easy. I don't think any of this is going to be easy, quite literally at all. But I don't think escapism is the answer. And I do agree with Nick. I don't think that one of the winning selling solutions of a parallel institution or parallel society is, you know, you want to own a trailer at, you know, the Arkansas place. And I'm not trying to say this to be rude or offensive or to start an argument at all. But in my opinion, I don't think that is a selling pitch to the hearts and minds of young men. And again, what was GLR's top critique? Oh, good night. See you later, Orthodox Grandma. I appreciate you. It was that the right can't win the hearts and minds of young men. And if the idea here is that we're just going to abandon it, no. I think GLR was right. The right needs to stop putting aside winning over hearts and minds and having emotional arguments. Not that I would say make the emotional arguments, but I would say that's the right's biggest flaw. And I think quite literally, I posted this the other day. I think I might have said it on stream too. I think Nick is the answer to that. I think the Groyper movement is the answer to that. I think if you've ever seen a movement that had loyalty and heart and passion in it, it'd be the Groypers. So how do we connect the dots? How do we continue to win the hearts and minds of young men? And I think just in the most natural effect, I mean, think about what this post is here about the God of War. What draws men in initially? This fight against the system, this struggle, taking on unimaginable suffering. You know, you think about, you know, the whole concept of Atlas holding the world, right? And just the cues and the art there. Suffering from a weight he can't even see. See you on Nick later tonight. That's funny. Yeah. If I'm on Nick later tonight, it's going to be because he's probably going to be roasting me for something, I would imagine. That's kind of where I'm at. I agree with GLR on that. I would like to see us paying a lot more attention to winning hearts and minds, not caring about the argument being precise and logical, although that does matter, but also worrying about, can you convince someone? Can you persuade someone? And not just in the sense of like they think that you have a point, but in the sense that you have convinced them that now their heart has convicted them. You know what? That was such a great thing I heard from this person. Like, oh my gosh, like how can I get involved? How can I do more? That's winning a heart and mind. Not, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Interesting. Robotron says, I see Alice in Super Chats every once in a while. Tom Fo and Jimmy talks sometimes too. That's funny. I'm waiting for the day, you know. You're just gonna get attacked. Yeah, this I don't even know what I get attacked with. Maybe being old. I am getting old, guys. I'm getting really old. That's gonna bring us. That's gonna be the show for today. I appreciate you guys greatly. And as always, you can support me at Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/AliceThug. And also Super Chats will too. I appreciate that. Matt Kemp, he says, I know the haters going to go crazy with Nick saying vote for Dems, but I definitely am for midterm. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, I'm like completely withholding the vote. For midterms, I like, you know, it's Casey for me, and then it's just like, that's it. Forgive me, what just shook belly bad. Casey, and then that's it. It's like, I really could care less about anything else. And for Casey, obviously, because it's for my state, more so kind of in the position of, I guess, not voting at all. Just, okay. If something good comes along, if Thomas Massey ticket gains some steam, but I'm not voting for a Rubio ticket. I'm not voting for a Vance ticket. I'm not voting for a Hegseth ticket. I'm not voting for a Miller ticket. I'm not voting for a Bannon ticket. No, I'm not voting for a Ben Shapiro ticket. I will not be. None. No. Nada. Zilch. Zero. Won't be. Am I still for Fishback? Yeah, I'm pro Fishback. I love his messaging. But I mean, like, I can't personally vote for him, but I think right now he's still doing, his rhetoric to me is the best part about him. It's the fact that he's saying all of the right things. And the part of the reason why I support him is because what I would like it to be seen as is like, you can run on a platform of Fishback, which is America First, Christian nationalist, or Christian nationalist adjacent, and you can dominate. Dominate. Because if that's the message, if Fishback, like, can you imagine a scenario where Fishback just blows Byron Donalds out of the water? Like $1,000 in funding. He ran on America First, God, country, and what we are as an American for our best interests. He blows Byron Donalds out of the water. How encouraging would that be for anyone else to take that messaging, repackage it, and say, you know what, let's push this. Or encourage more America First individuals to stand up and say, look at that positive reaction. Maybe it's possible. That's why I'm supportive of Fishback. I think it's more important that it's the rhetoric that's being pushed, but specifically that downstream effect it will have if Fishback does win, how that others will perceive it and react to it. I think it will be like a positive domino effect. But thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna get the Buy Me a Coffee thing hooked up too. But the Buy Me a Coffee thing was also gonna be working like a super chat. I gotta get it integrated still. But yeah, if you support me on there and you leave a message, it should, if I'm on stream, it should pop up as well too. But I'm going to get that widget to work as well. But no other announcements really beyond that. I think tomorrow I am going to probably spend time trying to make a video, so I probably won't stream tomorrow. Expect that I will stream on Thursday, and also on Thursday. What day is today? Today is Tuesday. Yeah, tomorrow I'll try to make a video. And also too, for those of you who don't know, I am working again. I was doing this full time, but now I'm kind of split time between both working at the AI position that I've been at and also doing this too. So that's kind of why there's been a little bit of a downtick in content. But I'm just trying to maintain and also trying to get my wife, to not be stress free, just making more money to have it on hand. So video tomorrow will be what I'm aiming for. If I don't find a good enough topic, I think I might just stream regardless, because I've been struggling to come up with some decent topics here lately. I don't know why I've been lacking on creativity. And I do have bigger projects as well, like the Consequences of Feminism. I also have the Freedom of Association. I also have which I guess I call the Zionist Project, which that one's been in the back door for a long time. I could work on the scripting for some of those as well too. Just sort of leave Wednesday to be a video day. And I guess on top of that, if I do stream again, it should more than likely be Thursday. You'll see me again on Thursday, and I haven't talked to Zeb yet, but there may be a circuit stream, so me and Zeb may stream earlier in the day, and then you'll see me later on. But again, you can follow all the updates on Telegram or on Discord. I put everything. I try to update as much as possible. I know people have reached out to me too. I'm terrible with responding, but I'm just super busy. So like, I'm sorry. Don't take it as like a negative or like I'm ignoring you. Just a lot going on between like my wife and daughter too. Sometimes like I just forget or I open a message and I don't realize it. So, but please just know this. I'm heavily, I feel grateful And I'm extremely blessed to have the support and people reach out and who care and are wanting to have conversations and want to save this country. It means a lot to me. It means the world. So I appreciate that. So thank you very much for that. And I guess with that, Christ is king, as always, and will always be. Deport Kash Patel, deport Pam Bondi. Am I missing something? Probably. Oh yeah. And any woman over 150 pounds, you will be getting deported to the nearest country. So if you're in the north, you're going to Canada. If you're in the south, you're going to Mexico. And any woman between 100 and 120, we're going to put you on probation. You will have 90 days to lose those remaining 20 pounds. And after those 90 days, you will get shot from a cannon to Mexico. But with that, guys, I appreciate you all. I'll see you guys next time. Take care and stay safe. False flags abound, but one thing remains true. Christ is king. Love you all. Rooting for you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out.